All righty. I am going to go ahead and get started. Hopefully some people will jump on here. I did email everyone the Zoom link and the worksheet for today. And then I posted a message on Facebook for you guys to go check your emails. So hopefully you guys are getting those emails, probably wondering where the live is, because I have been streaming these into Facebook and I really want to do them on Zoom so that I can record them and keep them. And I'm having technical difficulties streaming into the Facebook group. So everyone that registered will get a link, should have gotten a link. If you're watching this on the replay, then you can still register at, I'll put it in the chat, or I'll put it, when I repost it in the group, in the guides, I will have the link to register up there on the top in the description. So every day is going to be a different link, and I'll be emailing that to you every morning at 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time with the current day link and the worksheet. And I'm creating, if you've been in a past challenge and you've already seen the worksheets from before, I've tweaked the worksheet somewhat so that it's following along with what I'm talking about, so that you can do your worksheet as we are talking. All right, so let's officially get started. This is the Unlock Your Kingdom Superhero Journey Challenge. And we are going to discover your true identity and your purpose, and start you with a personal kingdom superhero journey. It's kind of like, it's going to be writing your story, basically, where you've been, what your breakthroughs been, where you're headed, and how you can help others. And I think that's pretty exciting. I'm going to try and make that really super fun for you. All right. So if you don't know me, I am Deanna Murphy. My superhero name is Sophia Diamond, so I am slowly transitioning into that name. I definitely have already transitioned into that, what do you call it? Into that identity. And you'll hear more about my story here in a little bit and over the next couple days. And as we go on this journey, you're going to also be able to discover your superhero name. And so I'm Deanna Murphy, and I'm the creator of the Kingdom Superhero Program and the owner and founder of This Tiara Life, which is all about living your life as the king, as a daughter of the king. And like I said, in this challenge, we're going to discover your true identity as a kingdom superhero and your own personal superhero journey and how you can help others. And we're going to bust out our superheroes. We're going to break her free once and for all. No more messing around. Okay. God is on the move, and there's a sense of urgency, and he is calling his daughters to rise up, and we need to stop messing around, and we need to get serious about this. So go ahead as you're joining and put where you are watching us from in the chat. And then also, if you're watching the replay, put hashtag replay. So today we're going to talk about false identities, identity crisis, and we're going to talk about lies that maybe you've partnered with, that we need to just let it all go in order to be able to step into our true identity. And then tomorrow we're going to talk about our true identity. And Rivka is going to give us an inner healing session, which I'll talk more about in a little bit. And then on the third day, on Wednesday, we're going to talk about your kingdom superhero journey, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And then we have a special bonus day on Friday where we are going to have 3 guest speakers who are all kingdom superheroes. They're going to come and talk to us for about an hour. So they'll each do about 20 minutes each. And they're going to tell us their story and their superhero journey. So I hope you can join me for the bonus day, and let's just really support these guys and love on them and appreciate them for coming on here and sharing their story with us. All right. So like I said, if you're watching this on the replay, you want to make sure that you are registered for the challenge. And I'll put the link in the description up at the top when I post this in the guides. You want to make sure that you're registered for numerous reasons. One is so you get access to the daily Zoom link. Two, so you get access to the worksheets, which are going to help you work through the content. This is called a challenge for a reason, and that is so that you will do the work. You're not just going to sit back and be a watcher or a looky-loo. A challenge is to actually get in here and do the work and get the breakthrough. So I'm going to give you some daily worksheets so that you can actually do the work and get the breakthroughs. Okay. And then you want to be registered so that you can get in on the group inner healing session. This will not be recorded and it will not be reposted in the Facebook group. And then you want to make sure that you are registered so that you get the link to our special speaker panel on Friday, which is going to be really good and powerful. And then you want to make sure that you're registered so that you can be eligible for the prizes. Okay. So what are the prizes and how can you win? So the prizes are, the grand prize is going to be an all access NFT key. And if you don't know what NFTs are, that's okay. I'll explain it later. But all you need to know is that this is an all access key to all my programs for the life of Kingdom Superhero, for you to get into all my programs for free, present and future. Hi, Liz. Thank you for joining me. And sorry, I got this presentation up, so it's hard I can't see the chat. It's not just up on the side here. So the all access key is a grand prize. As of right now, it's worth $1,088. That's the cost of if you were to purchase all my programs at full price right now. And that will go up as I add more programs. And then the runner up will get a VIP level to my new 12-week boot camp. It was 4 weeks. I changed it to 12 weeks. I restructured it a little bit. So you will have VIP lifetime access to the boot camp. And so that's the grand prize and the runner-up prizes. And for those 2 prizes, you must do all your homework to be in the running for those. And then the last prize, I'm going to give away 2 Create Your Kingdom Superhero Lifestyle workshops, which are coming up. One's going to be on November 12th and one's going to be on December 10th. So you can pick whichever day you want. I'm going to randomly give 2 people in the challenge one of those workshops. And on Monday, next Monday at 10 o'clock a.m., I'm going to go live in the Facebook group. It won't be a Zoom link. I'm just going to go live in the Facebook group. And I'm going to announce the winners. We're going to watch the wheel spin together and see who the winners are, and it will cheer for you and everything else. Okay, so that'll be a lot of fun. So those are the prizes. Now, I want to talk about real quick the Kingdom Superhero Project. Now, Liz has been in every challenge with me, which is super amazing. I love the fact that you're hanging in there with me and you're supporting me, but also that you're getting so much out of it. Liz continues to show up for so many challenges and so many programs. Liz is a person who is set on being a hero and being a guide, which we'll learn more about later, but just really, her mindset is, how can I be the best version of myself, which is what the hero is. And she continues to learn. So I thank you, Liz, for being here. And if you want to share with everyone in the chat what your superhero identity is, that would be great. Liz discovered her superhero identity in our first challenge. This is our 3rd challenge, I think. So it's a really fun project. And for those of you that are a little bit on the shyer side, this will help you bust out of that. And you have until Saturday night, the 29th, to complete this project. And this is just kind of a little side thing. You do not have to do this to be, you know how I said you have to do all your homework for to be in the running for the grand prize and the runner up. This is not part of your homework. You do not have to do this, but I highly suggest you do it because it's super fun. Plus, it's going to give you a lot of insight into how God sees you. Okay. I believe it's prophetic. So as we go through this week and you discover who your inner superhero is, ask God to reveal to you what her name is. This is going to be a lot of fun. You know, God changed numerous people's names in the Bible when he called them to their purpose or to a specific task. He called Abram, he changed their names. He changed Abram to Abraham, Sarai to Sarah, Jacob to Israel, Saul to Paul, Simon to Peter. And these names that he changed them to was how he saw them, right? Like Peter, the rock, right? Israel, the nation. So your superhero name is going to be prophetic, and it's going to give you insight into how God sees you and into your calling. So once he gives you the name, then what you're going to do is you're going to go look up and see what that name means. So my superhero name is Sophia Diamond. So Sophia means divine wisdom, and diamond spiritually means rare, strong, high value, inventiveness, commitment, fidelity, fearless, invincible, clarity, purpose, and truth. That's a lot. But in the last challenge, when we were doing an inner healing session, he added another aspect to that, which I've kind of changed to my personal logo now. And that is that he told me I'm the gem of his heart. So now my little personal logo is a heart, but it's like a diamond. It's a gem. And then it says Sophia Diamond, and it says the gem of his heart, which has been super fun to create and just step into this identity. So once he gives you the name, go look it up and see what the meaning is, and then go and find a picture, or you can create a picture that represents who your superhero is, and then write a paragraph about who, about her bio. Let us know who she is, what kind of a person is she, and all that kind of stuff. And I'm going to include in this challenge a superhero project worksheet to help you. And you will be getting that tomorrow in your email tomorrow morning. So be looking for that. And so in the guides, in guide 3, there's 3 posts. And you're going to put in there by Saturday night. This is where I'm going to check to see that you've completed it. You are going to, one is superhero name and meaning. One is the picture representation of her. And then the last one is her bio. Now, I want you to go live in the group and tell us about her. But in order to be in the running for yet another prize, I need those 3 sections filled out so that I'm not looking everywhere trying to figure out if you guys have done it or not. I just need them right there. Boom, boom, boom. And then I'm going to randomly pick someone next Monday when I pick all the other prizes. And this winner will also get a VIP level of the 12-week boot camp. All right. All right. So that's the prizes and the superhero project. Now let's talk about the group inner healing session real quick. Rivka is going to give us a group, approximately a 30-40 minute inner healing session tomorrow after I get done talking for the day on tomorrow's topic. So we will start probably, hopefully around 10:30-ish, 10:40-ish with the inner healing session. At that point, I will turn off the recording and it will not be recorded so that you can process and just have the freedom to process and not worry about if anyone's going to be watching this later or whatever. If you have never been in an inner healing session before, these are really, really powerful. You know, Rivka just leads you into the presence of God and allows the Holy Spirit to work in you and through you, and allows him to speak. She just asks guiding questions. When I first heard about inner healings, I was afraid. I was like, are they going to like hypnotize me? Am I not going to have control over what I'm thinking, what I'm saying, or whatever? It's not like that at all. Actually, once you do one, you're going to want to do a lot more. They're really, really powerful and they're really good. All right, so that's our inner healing session. And then if you've got the worksheet, you can go ahead and do this now. If you didn't get the worksheet yet, which I emailed to you, you can do it after the session. But you can just kind of do it mentally right now. So we want to set our intentions for this challenge. So think about, what do you want to get out of this challenge? What breakthrough do you need? What breakthrough do you want? And then ask God to also give you the breakthrough that you need. And then go ahead and fill that out, your intentions, and then you want to keep those in front of you as we go through this challenge, so that you can keep in mind, you know, what you are wanting to get out of this. Proverbs 16:3 says, before you do anything, put your trust totally in God and not yourself. Then every plan you make will succeed. All right, so let's get into today's content. Okay, let's, come on. Are you gonna switch screens? Sorry, okay. All right, so here's today's content. So the first thing I'm gonna talk about is my personal identity crisis, what I went through. And I'm gonna give you a trigger warning right now. I am not a counselor, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a psychiatric doctor. So you need to be in charge of your own mental health throughout this challenge. And if anything triggers you, then you need to get out of the challenge and you need to go pray or go talk to someone, or just protect your mental health, okay? But I'm going to talk right now about my story, which has a couple triggers, may have a couple triggers in it. So give me like 2 minutes, turn your volume down right now. And when I am done talking about my story, I will give you the thumbs up and you can turn your volume back up. All right. All right. So I'm going to talk. So turn your volume down. All right. So first of all, I grew up in a very dysfunctional, toxic family. My dad was in the Navy and he wasn't around very much, and we moved a lot. And so I, you know, always had to make new friends. I had 2 kindergartens, 2 first grades, 2 second grades, 2 third grades, because we always moved right around Christmas. And then when I was in 4th grade, my dad and my mom got divorced, and his side of the family pretty much divorced us. I never heard from my grandparents or my aunt again. And I only saw my father a few times after that. And then he passed away when he was 52. And then when I was 11, my mother remarried, and she remarried a man who was a Vietnam vet. He had 3 Purple Hearts, and he had a lot of issues that he needed to work through that he never did. You know how some of the vets are. He was a major alcoholic. And then when I was 15, they had a baby. So my teenage years were filled with just crazy chaos, with him drinking and him, you know, my parents always fighting and all that kind of stuff. And then having to take care of a baby as a high schooler after school and stuff. It was just kind of crazy. So I had been saved. I got saved when I was 13. And so I tried to go to church as much as possible just to get out of the house. Can you guys make sure your microphones are muted? Someone is not muted. So who do I have on here? I have Vicky and Liz. All right, thanks guys. Okay, so, oh no, what happened? Sorry, I was trying to see who was on here. I messed it up. This is the first time I'm using this presentation mode through Canva. I usually do presentations in PowerPoint, and this is the first time I'm using a Canva one. And I thought that this little comic superhero one would be kind of fun to use. I'm learning how to use it. Sorry, we'll get it. Okay. All right. Okay, so back to my story. Sorry. So where was that? So I wanted to go to church. So I went to church a lot. I went to church like 4 times a week so that I didn't have to be at my house. And I also had a boyfriend, and so I just made sure that I was always out with him all the time so that I didn't have to deal with the chaos, or I would invite him over hoping that the chaos wouldn't ensue if he was there. It rarely did. Sometimes it did, but it rarely did. And then when I was 18, I got married. And looking back, I think I mostly got married just to get out of the house. But we joined the Air Force in our first year of marriage, and we went overseas. We were medics. And in the first year of my marriage, I discovered some toxic things in my marriage. And I was shattered. I just could not believe this stuff was happening. And I was devastated. And this began my 26-year journey of trying to get him to help and him not really wanting help. And in the end, after 27 years, I decided to leave him. I asked God permission. He gave me a specific verse. I left. It had to do with sexual betrayal. So, and the Bible says that in those cases, we're allowed to get a divorce, right? But I still asked permission for him, and he gave me a specific verse and allowed me to go. So I left my marriage, but I didn't recognize myself. After all those years, I felt unwanted, unloved. I felt like I wasn't attractive enough. I felt like it didn't matter what I did. It would never be good enough. I felt damaged. I felt ashamed. I felt guilty. So I started doing some destructive behaviors because I didn't care about my life. And I started sleeping around. I started drinking more. I started partying. I was doing recreational drugs, all to try and make myself feel better and to convince myself that I was loved and wanted. But all that backfired. And then I started cutting. And then I tried to commit suicide twice. And later in my healing journey, I discovered that I had PTSD, and that played a huge part in several relationships after my divorce. In Proverbs 4:23, it says, guard your heart above all else, for it determines the course of your life. And I wasn't guarding my heart at all. In fact, I was trying to ignore God. I was trying to turn away from God. I was trying to end my life. I didn't want to have anything to do with it. Right. But I knew that whole time that I was in the palm of his hand. And I'll talk about that tomorrow. But so that's the end of my identity crisis, pretty much. So most of us grow up with some kind of form of trauma and abuse, and we've dealt with it on different levels. We all have different levels of what we've dealt with, right? As far as trauma abuse goes. And the two top identities that we can partner with when we have trauma or abuse are either the victim identity or the villain identity. And the victim identity says, everything always happens to me. Why does this happen to me? Every time I turn around, something bad's happening to me, right? And then the villain identity is, let's see if we can make something happen to someone else, right? Like they're always trying to do something to someone else. So those are the two main trauma identities that we can partner with, the villain or the victim. And I don't know if you can identify, if you can see either one of those in your past or currently. I certainly identified with the victim mentality for a long time. And it was drama all the time. It didn't matter where I went or what I did. It was drama. Even if I went to the grocery store, that was drama, because I would come home and I would be like, there was so many people at the grocery store. There was like 50 billion people in line. And it took me like 2 hours to get through there. When in reality, there was maybe 5 people in line or 10 people in line. And it took me maybe, a little bit more time than I wanted it to. But I made everything drama. And this was my victim mentality. And these identities affect how we talk, how we interact with people, how we look at life, how we make our decisions, all these kinds of things, right? And because of this, we may push people away, have a huge wall up, lack trust, you know, have a hard time keeping friendships, jobs, keep a partner. Because of my abandonment issues, my MO was always, I'm going to push you away before you can push me away, because I'm not going to be the one that's going to be abandoned. You're going to be the one that's going to be abandoned. That seriously used to be my mindset. It was horrible. So I don't know how many of you guys know Dr. Carolyn Leaf, but in our, if you're in like the 100X Kingdom Warriors circle, which some of you are not, there is a doctor that comes and talks to us about like our brain neuroscience and our feelings and all this kind of stuff, which is really super cool to see how all that's interconnected. She tells us that there's 4 main responses to trauma. And each of these responses have specific behaviors. And you've probably adopted at least one of these trauma responses if you've been through trauma and abuse, which most of us have. So I'm going to go through the 4 real quick, and then I'm going to read what the specific behaviors are in each of these. And in your worksheet, these are listed as well. And you can go through and circle which ones you identify with, or which ones resonate with you, that you feel that you are currently participating in these behaviors. Okay, so the 4 trauma responses are flight, fight, freeze, and fawn. So fight is you have aggressive outbursts, impulsivity, controlling, often criticizing, and bullying. Flight is interim anxiety, OCD, perfectionism, overactive, analytical, and workaholic. Freeze is depression, disassociation, brain frog. I always say, every single time I say brain frog, I cannot say brain fog. Brain fog, struggle in decision making, and isolation. And then fawn, which is people pleasing, codependent, lack of boundaries, very conflict avoidant. So for me, I was very much, my trauma response was fawn. And the behaviors that I had most definitely were people pleasing, codependent, lack of boundaries, very conflict avoidant. I avoided conflict. Like, I don't think anyone on the planet of the earth could avoid a conflict as well as I could. But I most certainly see some other behaviors in here that I also had. I had struggle in decision making, depression, perfectionism, workaholic, analytical, over criticizing. So I also had some other behaviors, but that full on fawn one was me to a T. So these false identities, these are called, if you've partnered with these, or I'm not saying partner, like you didn't willingly say, oh, aggressive outbursts and impulsivity. Yes, that's how I want to be. You know what I mean? But I'm saying that these have showed up in our life, and we have believed what we have believed them, and we have agreed with them, whether we've recognized that they are a lie or not, is what I'm saying. Okay. So the dictionary defines an identity crisis as a period of uncertainty and confusion in which a person's sense of identity becomes insecure, typically due to a change in their expected aims or role in society. So for me, my identity crisis and my trauma came from several role changes, right? My dad left, so I felt like I was no longer a daughter, or I wasn't worthy of his love, that I wasn't good enough for him to stick around or to want to see, because I only saw him a few times after that. And so certainly there was a lot of abandonment issues there. And then the role change with my stepdad, and then the role change with my husband, right? So can you see through my story how these role changes can cause trauma, right? And even if, you know, as a child, you were abused, I mean, that definitely is a role change, right? Because it's not the father-daughter relationship anymore. It is something else. And that can cause a lot of trauma because it's not your role in that relationship changed. Do you understand what I'm saying? I hope you guys understand what I'm saying. I can't see the chat at all, but I hope you guys are talking to each other and chatting about what I'm talking about. The Bible says that our enemy walks around roaring like a lion, looking to and fro, seeing who he can devour, right? Who can destroy. And it's a lot of our trauma and abuse comes from when we were little kids, because the weakest ones are the easiest ones to attack, right? And, separating us from our relationships, removing people from our lives, causing us to be hurt and offended. These are all main ways that he seeks to destroy us. And when we're, I already talked about that, sorry. So through your trauma or abuse, you may have heard lies that you have partnered with, right? So the world tells us, and even as adults, the world tells us this: you lied, you're a liar. You cheated, you're a cheater. You made a mistake, you're a mistake. You failed, you're a failure, right? So the world tells us all these different things and we believe it. Well, yeah, I may have failed a few times, but that doesn't make me a failure, right? But when you think, well, yeah, I have failed a few times, so maybe I am a failure, or I did make a mistake, so maybe I am a mistake, right? And so we start partnering with those lies that the world has told us. And then we take it in and we internalize these lies about who we are, and then they start shaping our perception of our own identity. I was watching Home Alone the other day with my granddaughter, and the scene where it's the night before they're all leaving for Paris. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie, but all their family's over. They're all going to Paris. There's a ton of kids there. It's just chaos, right? Like they're all trying to eat pizza. They're all trying to pack. They're all trying to get their stuff situated. And Kevin, who's the smallest, is just having a really hard time because doesn't know how to pack, and people are picking on him, and he's trying to go to his mom and dad and get help, but they're acting like he's a major pain in the butt right now. Like, just go, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear what everyone's doing. I'm busy, whatever, right? And so he ends up having a full-on meltdown, right? And like stuffed milk and stuff spills all over the table and all this kind of stuff, right? But I'm listening to the people interact with this poor little kid. Now, in the movie, Macaulay Culkin is really sassy and a smart mouth, right? Like he just says some inappropriate things that he shouldn't be saying at all. And his parents don't call him out on it, which drives me crazy. And so I'm constantly telling my granddaughter, because we've seen it several times, that's not right, right? That you can't talk like that, right? And she's like, yeah, I know. But listening to the parents and the other kids talk to this kid, the uncle says, "You're such a jerk." One of the I don't know if it's his sister or cousin. You're what the French calls la incompetente or something like that, right? And then another cousin says, "You're such a disease." And these people are just barraging him with such negative talk. And, if it wasn't a movie, this would clearly shape this poor kid's life, right? Like all these thoughts that these people are thinking about him, right? And I know a kid, it's a 6-year-old. I don't have any ability to speak into his life. His mom is friends with my daughter, and it's my granddaughter's best friend's brother. But this poor little kid, his father, he goes to his father's every other weekend, and his father has told him that he's not wanted, he's not loved, and that if anyone ever tells them that they love him, they're lying. Why would someone do that to a child, right? So this poor child has taken this on, and he believes that nobody loves him. It doesn't even matter what you tell him. He, as a result, has a severe speech impediment. He has severe learning disabilities. He's always trying to run away from home. He's in first grade. Like, so these lies that come from our trauma and our abuse and just people telling us these things can get so deep and so embedded into who we are that we start believing that that's who we are. And then we start living our life as though it is true, right? And so this is what we need to identify. So in your worksheet, I've got a lot of questions for you. I got a lot of different things for you to identify, because this is where we can start this is the starting point of our healing process, because God wants us to be whole and complete. He doesn't want us partnering with the lies of the enemy. He wants us to know what our true identity is, how he sees us, and he wants us to step into that, and he wants us to live our life full out in that identity, right? Because that's where our purpose comes from. That's where our calling comes from. That's where our power comes from. That's where our authority comes from. That's where our impact comes from. And so we have to identify the lies that we've been believing about ourselves that are not true. So that's the sign of an identity crisis. So, you know, your identity is at the core of who you are. And this is the number one way that the enemy tries to separate us from God. This is where the orphan spirit comes in. And I'm going to talk about the orphan spirit in a minute. So many of us are living with an orphan spirit. Life isn't fair. There isn't enough for me. I always get the wrong end of the stick. Nothing ever works out for me. I'm invisible. Nobody cares about me. And as you go through these different behaviors below, and you're seeing which ones you resonate with, number one, do not feel bad about yourself. None of this is your fault. And like I said, when I'm saying that you're partnering with it, I'm not saying that you willingly, knowingly agreed and said, yes, I'm choosing to accept this. This is the identity that I want. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that we believed the lies, and the lies became a part of us. So unwillingly, we partnered with it, right? And it is not your fault. It is not your fault in any way, shape, or form. There is no guilt, shame, or condemnation. These come from Satan and not from God. So I want you to praise God right now that he is showing these behaviors to you so that you can be completely healed. I think that's pretty amazing. And when I was learning all this and saw my behaviors, it helped me to see that I wasn't imagining my trauma or making this stuff up in my head all these years. It like validated what I had been through, right? It was legitimate and I had real damage from it. And that was a really, really powerful starting point for me. So I'm going to go through real quick what the signs of an identity crisis is, and it's also in your worksheet. You feel unloved, unwanted, unattractive. You feel depressed. You feel self-destructive. You don't trust yourself. You're a people pleaser. You have a hard time saying no. You feel like a doormat. You're afraid of conflict. You have a fear of judgment from others. You always feel like you're in trouble. You feel lost. You don't know what your next step is. You don't recognize yourself. You don't make yourself a priority, and you feel abandoned. So if you've been through trauma and abuse, like I said, I want you to know it's not your fault. We are all sinners and we live in a sinful world, and we all have free will. And when someone freely chooses to harm you, they are exercising their free will, and it is not your fault. And if you recognize that you have some of the signs above of a false identity or an identity crisis, and you've not fully dealt with the pain, the loss, the grief, the trauma, the confusion, and insecurity, you will have heart wounds that need to be healed. And heart wounds lead to blind spots. Blind spots cause us to make decisions that in turn cause more problems in our life, because we make them out of desperation, out of fear, shame, guilt, lack of faith, and lack of trusting. And when you look for a savior other than Jesus, you're going to find an oppressor. And the Lord calls this double-mindedness. So double-mindedness is when you have inner turmoil between who God says you are and who the enemy says you are. And, you know, it's living with one foot in the world and one foot in the kingdom. It's giving God access to these parts of your life, but not these parts of your life, right? That's being double-minded. And God does not like double-minded. Another way that he puts it in the Bible is being lukewarm. He would rather that you either go all in with him or you don't go in with him at all. He doesn't like this half in, half out business, right? And the Bible says that if you are lukewarm or double-minded, he will spit you out. So we want to make sure that as we move forward, that we are on a journey to go all in the kingdom, right? No more double-mindedness in so many different things. So let's get back to the orphan spirit. The orphan spirit versus daughtership. So an orphan spirit is a mindset that leads to a state of the heart and is rooted in the moment Adam and Eve were separated from the union with God by their sin. An orphaned heart is an unhealed heart fostered by a lack of biblical parenting. So, you know, often we see a person with an orphan spirit wants to be loved, but's afraid to reach out for fear of being rejected. We were created to be in relationship with God, the Father, as a son or a daughter of the King of Kings. And we were created to be in family, to be in God's family, to be in this royal family. And many of us grew up without a dad, a mom, or even our birth parents. And feelings of abandonment are also a part of the orphan spirit. We can heal our orphan spirit when we are in family. So I just want to encourage you that if you don't have a family that you feel that you can trust, that are aligned with, you know, you being a Christian, that maybe they're not Christian, and you don't have a set of friends that really you can hang out with all the time or talk about spiritual things or whatever, I want to encourage you to get involved in the Kingdom Superhero community, because we can be your family, okay? We are in there to support you, trust you, encourage you, love you. It's a safe place to be. It's a safe place to go on your healing journey if you don't feel you have a safe place anywhere else to go on this journey, okay? So how do you know if you have an orphan spirit? So I'm going to go through these really quick. If you have your worksheet in front of you, you can just circle the ones that resonate with you. If not, just kind of make a note of it, and then you can do it on your worksheet later. So the orphan spirit, these are the behaviors of an orphan spirit, okay? Operates out of insecurity and jealousy. Is jealous of the success of his brothers or sisters. Serves God to earn Father's love. Tries to medicate his deep internal alienation through physical stimulation. Is driven by the need for success. Uses people as objects to fulfill their goals. Repels their children. Has issues with anger and fits of rage. Is always in competition with others. Has a lack of self-esteem. And receives their primary identity through material possessions, their physical appearance, and their activities. So when you are healed, or you are on your healing journey, because it's a lifelong journey, you're not going to get healed of everything overnight. As you're going through your journey and you start embracing your identity as a daughter of the King, and you move into that daughtership role, and these are the behaviors of a daughter of the King, okay? I could not figure out how to say that. A daughter of the King functions out of love and acceptance, is committed to the success of her brothers and sisters, serves God out of a sense of divine acceptance and favor, walks in the joy and presence of the Lord for comfort. This one hit me last night because I'm like, I think I'm using food for comfort. That's a whole nother story, but it was an aha moment. So I'm going to be probably on our inner healing session tomorrow. I'm going to be working through that one with God. Let's see. The Spirit leads the mature daughter into her calling and mission. Daughters serve people to bless the kingdom. They attract their children. They rest in the Father's ability to control and guide their future. She's always blessing others. She walks in the love and acceptance of Father God. And she has her identity grounded in her daughtership and her father's affirmation. So that's the difference between an orphan spirit and a daughter, your true identity, a daughter of the king, right? Which we're going to talk more about tomorrow. But do you identify with any of these? And before you can fully unleash your inner superhero, you're going to need to heal from your heart wounds, your identity crisis, your double-mindedness, and your orphan spirit. And like I said, it doesn't happen overnight. It's a journey. I'm still working on my stuff to a degree. And I'm going to be really super vulnerable with you guys right now. So I told you that I identified that as I was typing up the worksheet. I've done this challenge 3 times, but this really popped out to me right now that I am using food. It says I walk in the joy and presence of the Lord for comfort. And that means solely in the Lord for comfort. And sorry, my phone's going off. I realized that I think I'm using food for comfort, right? So that popped out at me. But then the other night I was laying in bed and I was just thinking about, the fatherless, because my grandson currently does not have his father in his life. There was a domestic violence incident and we've got a restraining order. And so he's not in his life right now. And I came across a post on Instagram talking about the effects of a fatherless generation. And it was talking about how boys that don't have fathers or father figures have, they don't get that rite of passage into adulthood. They don't get, there's numerous things, but the main ones that I'm concerned about is that they don't have a role model on they don't have a healthy role model on how to relate to women, right? Like how to be a man, how to be a husband, how to treat a woman, those kinds of things, right? And so when a fatherless male or boy is raised by women, then they tend to get a lot of those feminine influences, right? And they're not getting a lot of the manly influences. I mean, even simple things like, how do I change oil? How do I, in the car, how do I do yard work? How do I get a job and hold a job? Like different things. I mean, women know how to hold it. I mean, women know how to do all those too, but I'm saying that they have a lot more feminine influences. And so what happens is when they go into relationships, they're looking for a mother figure and not a wife lover figure. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I was thinking about that, right? But then, so me and my sister have been having discussions like on how can we help him be more in tune to the whole male thing, right? But I started thinking about the mother wounds. Me and my mom have a really great relationship, and she's always been like the rock in my family. And I've always been able to trust her with my feelings. She's been a really safe place to land. But I was thinking, I was laying in bed and I was thinking, and I was like, do I have any mother wounds? And so I was asking God, do I have any mother wounds? Do I have any mother wounds? And nothing was coming up. So then I went to my daughter in my thoughts. I went to my daughter and I was like, I wonder if she has any mother wounds. And then I was like, oh my gosh, her mother wounds would come from me, right? Like I had that epiphany, like the mother wounds would come from me. And so then I was like, oh my gosh, does my daughter have mother wounds from me? So then I went and I looked up signs of a toxic mother, and I discovered that I have some toxic traits as far as the way I deal with my daughter. I don't deal with my son that way. And so it was a harsh reality that I had. And I had to go to her and talk to her about it and ask her for forgiveness. And of course, she forgave me. She's always very gracious. But my concern is because I can see toxic behaviors in her that are now filtering down to her daughter. And I can see now where this is a pattern. And so I told her that me, her, and my granddaughter need to work on healing and to break. I feel it's a generational curse now, right? It's gone 2 generations. It could go a third if we don't break it. So that's just me being vulnerable with you guys, you know, just to show you that stuff you may think, yeah, I'm doing really great. And then bam, out of nowhere, something's going to come up. God's going to show you something that still needs to be healed. He is gracious enough, thank you, Lord, to not throw it all at you at once. I mean, certainly in this worksheet, I have thrown a lot at you, but it's a lot to go through. But I don't want to leave you with just some kind of feel good kind of, oh, you know, I'm okay. Like we need to know the truth, and the truth will set us free, right? So this is supposed to be a starting point for you, because in the worksheet, what I want you to do is go through all the different sections, right? So we had our identity crisis, we had our double-mindedness, we had our orphan spirit, we had our trauma responses and our behaviors. And at the end, you're going to take all those that you discovered, those behaviors that you're having, or those lies that you are believing about yourself, and you're going to write them at the end. And this is a starting point to your healing journey. So whenever an inner healing session comes up, like tomorrow, you can be like, oh, I want to work on this one, right? And so then you can bring that one to the inner healing session and you can ask God about it, right? So this is where we start from. So, you know, our journey to the superhero is, it always starts with our childhood, right? And certainly a lot of us have damage from our childhood because no one's parents are perfect, right? A lot of them are doing the best that they can. Some of them are just downright horrible, but most of them are doing the best that they can, but they're humans and they mess up. And so of course we're going to have effects from that. But, you know, there used to be a huge stigma about going to a psychologist or a psychiatrist. And so, well, certainly for my generation, like we didn't do a lot of therapy or anything like that. So now, you know, this thing about inner healing and all this is like, there's just more and more people that are trained in it. And it's really easy to go and get inner healing whenever you feel you need it. Rivka is our inner healing person for this community. And she always offers a free session in the challenges. So, you know, jump on every challenge that you can to get in on that inner healing session. And then also she usually offers my challengers a huge discount on any additional healing sessions that she that they may need after that. So where am I at? I kind of got sidetracked. All right. So I hope all that makes sense to you guys. Let me see. Let me just look through her name. Okay, so you're talking about your inner superhero. Yes, Rivka is a gentle facilitator. I was skeptical also. Now I can't wait till my next session. That's why I keep coming back. Yep. The inner healing sessions alone are worth the free price of this challenge. Plus you get some awesome prizes. All right. So I hope this was powerful for you. I hope that you got something out of it. I would love for you to, all right, so let's talk about our homework real quick. So our homework, you're going to go live or make a post with your biggest takeaway from today. Use hashtag KSH Day 1. You're going to complete your Day 1 worksheet, and then you're going to go into the guides for Day 1 and mark done on both your action tasks, and make sure you comment done when you've completed them. And the reason you have to do both is because if you've been in the challenge before, the done action button will already be disabled because you clicked it the first time, and you won't be able to do it again. So you need to comment done. Okay. So I'm just going to go through because there's other comments in there from previous challenges. And so I'm just going to go in there and see who's marked done. Okay. So I hope that this was good for you. I can't wait to hear your takeaways on the live. And if you have any questions, you can always message me. And other than that, I will see you tomorrow for day 2, which is we're going to talk about your true identity, and we're going to have an inner healing session with Rivka, which is going to be really powerful. All right. I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.